BJ Mafia, what's poppin'? So the LA Chargers will be traveling to Northeast Florida to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in a wild card round playoff matchup, and this is going to feature two premier up-and-coming ascending quarterbacks in the game between Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. This is looking to be one of the better matchups probably of the entire NFL playoffs, and I am super excited for this game. Jaguar fans, Chargers fans, anybody who's tapped into this video, I will be there Saturday evening at the Jags playoff game, so make sure you guys come and say what's up. I'll be sitting in section 221. I'll be out there tailgating, and I will be driving back up to Jacksonville this weekend. I'm super excited to be there, and I hope I can meet a lot of you guys out there, whether it's at the tailgate or at the game. But like I do for every single preview video, I'm always going to talk about the opponent first. That's going to come with the Chargers. I'll talk about them on both sides of the ball, and then I'll flip it over to the Jaguars, and at the very end, I'll give my final thoughts and my verdict. So let's get right into this LA Chargers talk. So the first thing I got to talk about with the Los Angeles Chargers is the fact that this team was on a 4-game win streak before losing in Week 18 to the Denver Broncos, 31-28, and Brandon Staley made yet another questionable decision, playing a lot of his starters. We saw Mike Williams, one of the better wide receivers in the game, get carted off the field, and thankfully, he's not injured. He just has maybe a back contusion, I think that's what it was, or a back bruise. It's not like a significant like lower back injury, and obviously I never pray or wish that upon anybody. So thankfully he's upright and he's actually okay, but he's going to be a game time decision. Joey Bosa had a core injury, and then Kenneth Murray Jr. had a neck injury, and Joey Bosa's only played in 5 games this year. So the fact that Brandon Staley has these guys out there in the fourth quarter, in which was essentially a meaningless game for the LA Chargers when they were already locked into the 5 or 4 seed, just another questionable call by Brandon Staley. This is something that we've become accustomed to with him, not just this season. The Browns game was the biggest one this season, I think, outside of Week 18, and then last year it was versus the Raiders, just 2 questionable decisions, and there's been plenty more incidences of Brandon Staley just making just really eye-popping, eyebrow-raising decisions. But let's actually talk about the Chargers on a positive note. Let's talk about one of their best young players, and that's Justin Herbert. Now, Justin Herbert this season did play in all 17 games, 4,739 yards passing, second among all NFL quarterbacks, 25 touchdowns, tied for 8th, 10 interceptions, 58.4 quarterback rating, which ranked 11th, scale of 0 to 100, and he did have a career high in completion percentage, 68%. Austin Ekeler, in terms of yards this year, did have a little bit of a down year, but Austin Ekeler still a great 1-2 type of running back who can do a lot of things coming out of the backfield. 915 yards rushing and tied for second among all NFL running backs with 13 touchdowns this season. And then let's talk about their receiving game and really the skill position guys that they have around Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen this year did only appear in 10 games, 66 receptions, 752 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And if you go back to Week 3, which I'm not really going to reference in this video, Keenan Allen did not play in that game at SoFi Stadium versus the Jaguars. And then Mike Williams, who I kind of already addressed, does have that back injury. He will be a game time decision. 63 receptions, 895 yards, and 4 touchdowns in 13 games this year. And then the Chargers also have a nice solid tight end in Gerald Everett, and then Joshua Palmer, second-year player, I believe, out of Tennessee, has a lot of great production. He does a great job coming out of the slot. Now, obviously, with the Chargers offense, you're always going to talk about that big arm play talent that a guy like Justin Herbert possesses. He did not do a great job this year evading pressure and really running out and, getting a lot more yards past the line of scrimmage, something that we were a lot more accustomed to seeing out of him his first 2 seasons in the league. And obviously, Justin Herbert is extremely capable of that. I'm just saying the production and the statistics say that Justin Herbert did not, really use his legs as much as you'd like to see, which honestly, that might be the best thing for him, considering the fact that he's got extreme superb arm talent. We know the type of talent that Justin Herbert is, and Justin Herbert also doesn't need to be getting hit a lot, considering the fact that he also had that rib injury early on in the year. And then moving on to the Chargers defense, I think me and everyone in the NFL community, including Chargers fans, were extremely excited to see, damn, this defense is stacked with all-pro talent, and they did not really live up to the hype. Now, when we talk about their run defense, yes, the LA Chargers were a bottom 5 run defense in the NFL. They were 28th in opponent rushing yards per game, but they were number 7 in opponent passing yards per game, doing a much better job in the secondary. And also, they did this a lot without Joey Bosa for a majority of the season, but Joey Bosa did play in that Week 3 matchup versus the Jaguars. But the Chargers have all pro level talent all across this defense. When you look in the secondary, you're going to look at guys like Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr. You look over in the front seven, you look at guys like Kenneth Murray Jr., one of the better young linebackers in the game. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, like these guys are going to be future Hall of Famers. We know the type of talent that's on this Chargers defense, and they were +5 in turnover differential, the most telling stat in all of football. So I will give credit where credit is due. But I've seen the Chargers defense be formidable this year, and I do think that they are extremely sporadic. One week I see them come out and dominate. Another week I don't see them go out and perform at the level at which they're capable of performing at. And another big thing with the LA Chargers is, outside of just Brandon Staley and this defense, is the LA Chargers have one win this season versus a team with a 500 or better record. That came versus the Miami Dolphins. Every other team that they played this year that they beat had a below 500 record. Let's just put that into its proper perspective. Let's talk about the Jaguars. So talking about the Jaguars, this team is currently on a 5-game winning streak. They've won 7 out of their last 9 games. And the prince that was promised, as Nick Wright would say, Mr. William Trevor Lawrence, aka Mr. Sunshine, has been probably a top 2, top 3 quarterback in the NFL since week 9. And he's the #1 rated quarterback in terms of quarterback rating since week 9. Trevor Lawrence has turned the corner. He has checked off every single box that you said, hey, this guy was drafted #1 overall for a reason. He had the hype coming out of high school. He had the hype coming out of college. And now he's delivered and he has promised. And now he's gotten this Jaguars team into the postseason in his second year in the league. Let's actually talk about Trevor Lawrence and his production. So Trevor Lawrence this season, 4,113 yards passing, which is 9th among all NFL quarterbacks. 25 touchdowns, tied with Justin Herbert for 8th. 8 interceptions, and he had a quarterback rating scale of 0 to 100 at a 54.5. And because I brought it up, let me actually talk about it some more with the statistics. So Trevor Lawrence, weeks 9 through 15, 280 yards passing per game, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 111.2 passer rating. And then the last 3 weeks, weeks 16 through 18, Trevor Lawrence has taken a little bit of a dip, but the Jaguars were playing inferior opponents and didn't really need to go and put Trevor in a position to where he could get hurt or force arrogant passes that were not necessary. Trevor Lawrence in weeks 16 through 18, 197.7 passing yards per game, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and an 87.1 passer rating. And the defense also has 2 touchdowns over that span, one by Tyson Campbell versus the Texans, and also Josh Allen versus the Tennessee Titans in that game-winning touchdown. Sticking with the Jaguars offense, all of their skill position guys in Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Evan Ingram all had career highs across the board. Christian Kirk this season, 84 receptions, 1,108 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Sounds pretty good to me for an overpaid receiver. Isaiah Zay Jones, 82 receptions, 823 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And then Evan Ingram this year, 73 receptions, 766 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And the last guy on the offense I have to talk about is with running back Travis Etienne, a guy who I was extremely high on coming into last season before he had that Liz Frank injury, and a guy who I said this guy was going to be an explosive playmaker. This guy is going to be a difference maker in the Jaguars offense, and that was running back Travis Etienne. Great first season from him this year because he didn't get to play at all last year. 1,125 yards rushing. And by the way, he only started in 12 games this year. 5 touchdowns, averaged 5.1 yards per carry. Travis Etienne is that guy, and I expect him to have a field day versus the LA Chargers while they rank 28th in opponent rushing yards per game. I expect him to have a great game. And then talking about the Jaguars defense, I cannot say enough about how really these last couple of weeks has been the Jaguars calling card is this defense. They've been extremely opportunistic. They've constantly put themselves in a position to succeed. Guys are flying around to the ball, and I say it all the time, but I cannot overemphasize it enough. Rayshon Jenkins, Tyson Campbell, Andre Sisco, Devin Lloyd, Josh Allen, the entire defense top to bottom. These guys go out there and they play with a lot of intensity, swag, juice, and these guys are constantly out there battling, and you love to see it because as soon as one play happens, it's a domino effect. When one guy gets a sack, another guy gets a sack. When one guy goes out there and makes a big QB pressure or gets a pass deflection, another one happens. You get my point. These guys have been playing phenomenal, and in the last 3 weeks combined, the Jaguars defense has allowed a combined 22 points. Yes, they played the New York Jets. Yes, they played the Houston Texans. Yes, they played the Tennessee Titans. You're still playing professional level offenses, and you've allowed a combined 22 points, phenomenal job at what the Jaguars defense has been doing, and they've came up huge this season and getting some critical stops, and we saw that most notably when we were down 17 to the Las Vegas Raiders and we came back. We saw that versus the Baltimore Ravens, and we also saw that versus the Dallas Cowboys when we were down 27-10, and the Jaguars defense and Rayshon Jenkins made a huge pick six at the end of the game. Just, you cannot say enough about what this Jaguars defense is doing. And like the LA Chargers, like I mentioned earlier, the Jaguars are also +5 in turnover differential this season. The most telling stat in all of football. Now, kind of getting into my final thoughts, and then I'll give my verdict, is this game to me, let's just say for the sake of argument, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, let's just call them exactly even in the exact same type of quarterback right now. We're not going to say for the sake of argument that one is better than the other. What is this really going to come down to? Obviously the production of other players on the field, but coaching. Schematically coaching. And we all know Doug Peterson's a better coach than Brandon Staley. That goes without saying. One's got a Super Bowl on his resume, the other doesn't. And if you ask me, Brandon Staley's on the hot seat, right? I know financially, I don't know what the situation is going to look like if Brandon Staley gets moved on after the season. I think him being in the postseason should be enough to keep him around. But if for whatever reason the organization feels like Brandon Staley's not the right guy moving forward, maybe they want to go with a guy like Sean Payton or another young coach in the game, maybe that's the direction that they want to move in. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself because we got to actually go out there and see what happens on Saturday evening. But now giving my actual verdict with this game, no, I have the Jaguars going out there and winning this game. And I say that very comfortably. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not disrespecting the Chargers. They're a very good team. Justin Herbert, I've given plenty of praise to. But the Jaguars with this home crowd, with the way this team has streaked, not squeaked, they've streaked into the playoffs. This team is hot. This team has all the momentum. This team is playing with a lot more confidence. And I expect the Jaguars to go out there and make ends meet. I'm not saying the Jaguars go out there and blow them out. Maybe the Jaguars win a close game. I don't know. But all I know is that the Jaguars, in my opinion, are actually going to go out there and they're going to win this game. What happened to Trevor Lawrence last week, not playing his best game and also missing a wide open Zay Jones, I think that was the best case scenario for him. Get some of those playoff jitters out of the way and really come back, focus a little bit harder on the mechanics and the details, and the Jaguars go out there and they win in the wild card round of the playoffs. Jaguars are going to move on to the divisional round. Yes, the Chargers are still a very good team. I'm not disrespecting them. Don't take it that way. I feel like I'm very honest in my assessment. I feel like I was very honest and fair in my preview video. But you know what? Only time will tell. Let's see what actually happens Saturday evening. Hope to see you guys out there. But Jaguars fans, Chargers fans, NFL fans, please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you guys did enjoy today's video, man, make sure you guys drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me in the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure you guys go follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day. The link tree will be in the description down below. But thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ. I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Peace.